Interesting. Then, the overabundance, yet a current exposure, has provoked a fundamental split between analysts as they take a look at the real factors. Now, the long-awaited revelation has appeared, as well-known astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson uncovers the stunning revelations in space. Oblige us as we track down how Adventurer 1 perceived 500 dark things going through space and research Tyson's considerations on this amazing revelation. On June 30, 198, a stony space rock crashed into Earth, striking a city in Siberia, Russia. The solid impact of this event achieved the destroying of about 2,000 square commercial. The critical meaning of this event reverberated in general, causing an overall shock wave. Resulting investigation provoked the book, The Verifiable Agreement Between Cosmology and the Military by Neil deGrasse Tyson, where he included the association of coherent examination and public security, pushing for moved-along interest in space examination to protect our planet. This grand work transformed public care, including the meaning of room examination. In a shocking turn of events, NASA's Space Mechanical Assembly Adventurer 1 has recognized 500 dark objects cruising by in space, leaving scientists befuddled. Neil deGrasse Tyson, the generally acclaimed astrophysicist, has emerged to really provide important lucidity. However, as specialists dove into the mystery of these 500 unidentified things, they unintentionally viewed as a grand exposure about Pilgrim 1 itself. But before we look at that revelation, we ought to first truly get to know the amazing Pilgrim 1 space contraption. Pioneer 1, the gallant space explorer, has eventually gone over an astounding 1.45 billion miles from Earth. The speed at which the bus goes through space is really surprising, covering a distance roughly 3.6 times the space between the Earth and the Sun each year. Yet there's one more side to the interstellar test than just its speed, toughness, and distance from Earth. Pioneer has sent a couple of significant exposures to us, like the new 500 dark articles it distinguished out there in the vastness of room. These are remarkable, wonderful things that we will not at any point see. Of course, broken down, we will get into that enormous disclosure in one moment. However, there is a request that is constant on your mind at this moment. How should a rocket that was shipped off way back in 1977 still be working and conveying such vital data? Well, the reaction lies in the brilliant timing and hunch that went into Traveler 1's arrangement. One of the basic secrets to Traveler's life expectancy is its twofold XSPC structures. Each Traveler space mechanical assembly, including Traveler 1, was outfitted with two arrangements of request PC subsystems: the Flight Information Subsystems, FDS, and the Elevation and Verbalization Control Subsystems, AAC. This clear dullness filled in as a basic defend, allowing consistent changes among systems and the ability to initiate lazy PC parts, consequently extending their future. The PC structure's locally available Adventurer 1 and its twin Traveler 2 were arranged as a scattered system with three twofold repetitive arrangements of laptops. This clear redundancy ensured that regardless of whether one system failed, the other could rule for slowing down critical disappointments. To use limited power sources, Wayfarer units depended upon planned reasoning, meaning the laptops were arranged with adjusted configuration circuits to ensure that they would be capability inside the imperatives of power spending plans and time limits during the rocket's new development. However, power the board is major in its one's functional to keep up with Wayfarer trustworthiness. The rocket division from the Sun, where it can harness solar energy, represents a gigantic test to boosting power effectiveness. Planners needed to think of inventive ways of observing and optimizing power usage. The power control framework used by this amazing man-made test is truly extraordinary. One fundamental part of power the leaders incorporates, specifically shutting down unnecessary structures. Designers carefully evaluated which parts or, on the other hand, subsystems are not critical for the fundamental mission objectives. For example, radiators related to certain legitimate instruments were deactivated. These warmers were at first expected to keep up with the instruments at expressed temperatures for ideal performance. By turning them off, power use is basically diminished, accordingly extending the van's overall future. This decision to close down unnecessary structures isn't fooled with. It requires a mindful evaluation of the compromises between power safeguarding and the intelligent targets of the mission. Specialists cooperate personally with examination to ensure that deactivating unequivocal structures doesn't compromise quality and availability of legitimate data. The objective is to discover some sort of amicability that extends power effectiveness while staying aware of fundamental handiness. Anyway, it's not all Wayfarer 1's power. The board structures moreover acclimate to the changing conditions of its current situation. As the space mechanical assembly journeys further from the Sun, the open Sun-situated energy reduces. To compensate for this, Wayfarer 1 changes its power use properly. That's what this flexible approach ensures. Available energy resources are gainfully apportioned to help central undertakings and data transmission. Over the long haul, there have been evolving specific types of progress and upgrades in power the board systems, allowing modelers to refine and smooth out the power systems of the Pioneer tests. These updates integrate more capable energy dissemination, advanced battery charging methodology, and progress in power guideline and control. Thanks to these cautious power the board frameworks, experts have actually extended Pioneer 1's useful life, hope enabling it to continue with its critical sensible endeavor through the universe. Since the rocket was at first planned to continue onward for just 5 years, the way that it's at this point sending back data very nearly 50 years after the fact is endlessly outshocking. It highlights the affirmation and ability of the scientists and creators who have worked vivaciously to continue to investigate. One practical yet despite this, careful orchestrating and planning, the profundities of significant space stay uncommon. Try not to go anywhere on the grounds that a huge revelation coming. Did Adventurer 1 find what did Voyager 1 see that as shock specialist? While there are some suspicions for what Pilgrim may first experience, meteoroids, space rocks, there is constantly the potential for alarming surprises. One such amazing bend in the Voyager 1 trip was the space contraption case of recognizing 500 confounding articles. This revelation caused a commotion and raised immense concerns among the specialists working on the endeavor. These odd signs and anomalies in the data came as an all-out shock. Voyager 1 began imparting telemetry data back to Earth. Anyway, the readings were unusual, and there was no great explanation for what was going on. The specialists requested this idiosyncrasy as an abnormality. However, notwithstanding the eccentric transmission, Wayfarer 1 kept on noting orders for mission control, though with a slight delay in correspondence. This introduced a staggering situation and became the mystery. What was especially trying about this irregularity was that it didn't set off Voyager 1's locally accessible issue security systems. These systems are planned to start when idiosyncrasies are recognized, setting the rocket into a trial mode that grants experts to investigate and examine the issue. For this situation, however, Adventurer 1 continued with its exercises without entering exploratory mode, adding to the interest. After exhaustive investigation, the idiosyncrasy was followed back to the Elevation and Enunciation Control Subsystem, AACS. The AACS assumes to be a critical part in precisely arranging the rocket and controlling its turns of events. It was found that the AACS had been sending telemetry data through an inserted PC that had quit working a really long time back. This old PC, which shouldn't have been related to data taken care of, had somehow become captured in the telemetry transmission process, prompting the defilement of the information being sent back to Earth. The mission by and by was to fix this anomaly and determine whether there were to be sure 500 dark things out there. The course of action included retraining the AACS to redirect telemetry information to the fitting working PC. This support was considered low risk and was actually accomplished. Anyway, tending to this irregularity was not without its exceptional arrangement of challenges. One of the most critical obstructions looked by the mission group was the critical time delay in correspondence. Traveler 1 is presently found around 1.46 billion miles from Earth, a genuinely staggering distance. Consequently, it takes a significant proportion of time for radio signs to travel this huge region. At the point when the mission group at NASA's Profound Space Organization DSN sends to investigate 1, it goes as a radio transmission at the speed of light. The DSN is a wide organization of gigantic radio receiving wires unequivocally situated all over the planet. Its essential capability is to spread out two-way correspondence among Earth and profound space missions. The DSN teams up with different space organizations around the world, putting forth a bound-together attempt to investigate and explore the secrets of room. The correspondence with Traveler 1 occurs through radio waves utilizing the gigantic receiving wire is at these DSN stations. While sending information from the rocket to Earth, a recurrence of either 23 GHz or 84 GHz is utilized on channel 18. On the opposite side, while conveying messages from Earth to Pilgrim 1, a recurrence of 21 GHz is utilized. Notwithstanding the huge speed of light, even at this speed, it expects close to 22 hours for an order to arrive at the bus. This time postpone adds a layer of intricacy to speaking with Traveler 1. The mission group should cautiously design and execute orders considering the normal reaction time. Any blunders or issues can bring about startling difficulties and challenges. During the irregularity research, this time delay represented an explicit test. It really intended that indicative and investigating techniques were fundamentally broadened. Orders required to have been painstakingly evolved, keeping as a main priority the 22-hour holding-up period prior to getting any affirmation or reaction from Pioneer 1. Yet here's the striking part. In spite of the huge time defer, each message shipped off Pioneer 1 was not just adding to the data. It was a critical piece of the mission. The time postponement could restrict ongoing control and correspondence, yet it doesn't lessen the significance of the correspondence. Each message was an imperative piece of the riddle in settling the inconsistency. Eventually, the oddity was fixed at its source and the broken PC was shut down. Pioneer 1, the sublime space application device, could then manufacture ahead with its uncommon endeavor through the immeasurability of room, sending back significant information and bits of knowledge to Earth. Now that we know the previous error of the space test has been settled, how about we look at the outstanding accomplishments of the spaceship when it had no issues? The essential goal of the brilliant transport, shipped off on September 5, 1977, was to investigate our nearby planet Bunch. However, its interaction loosened up past that starting explanation. Wayfarer 1's story began with an interesting turn. Seemingly forever beforehand arriving at Jupiter, it began sending photographs of the gas Goliath. These early pictures showing Jupiter's shocking spinning fogs and the persisting incredible red spot were a second hit at NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab. Yet, this was simply the prelude to an excursion that would rethink space investigation. What really put aside the Pioneer was the two memorable perceptions: the revelation of dynamic volcanoes on Jupiter's moon, Io. This innocent moon, somewhat bigger than Earth's moon, held an incredible mystery. It was the most volcanically dynamic body in our whole planetary framework. Wayfarer 1's instruments recognized surprising signs from Io, and the striking pictures it caught revealed a universe of transcending volcanic crest and a surface scarred by the eruption of volcanic material. Among these, Pell, one of Io's generally unmistakable volcanoes, has erupted as high as 3 times the level of Mount Everest, covering a territory almost the size of France. The privileged insights of our nearby planet Bunch were unfurling before our eyes. Prior to the new brain-bowing disclosure of 500 obscure articles passing by in space, the twin pioneers were wowing us since their farewell. One of their most expected revelations was the presence of Jupiter's rings. These fragile rings, while faint, added an atmosphere of secret to the all-around baffling gas monster. Wayfarer 1 added one more part of the riddle by uncovering that Europa, one of Jupiter's 53 named moons, was encased in a frigid shell over 60 miles thick. This challenged our past assumptions about the idea of far-off heavenly bodies and ignited a new flood of interest in the potential livability of frigid moons. However, there's more. As the travelers bid farewell to Jupiter, they got an important farewell gift: a gravity help. This gravitational support, similar as an inestimable slingshot, moved them towards Saturn. Without it, they would have been caught in the sun's gravitational handle, incapable to venture further into space. Voyager 1's way took it near Saturn's hypnotizing moon, Titan, canvassed in an orange fog-filled air. Titan's secret pinnacle scientists, interest-provoking inside and out investigations of its complex science. Pioneer 1 then set out on a course towards the external compasses of the planetary framework. Amidst this horde of disclosures and miracles, there was one person who played an urgent job in broadening the missions past their underlying targets: the famous cosmologist Carl Sagan. As a part of the Pilgrim mission's imaging group, Sagan intensely supported for one last set of pictures prior to shutting down the space mechanical assembly cameras. These pictures he trusted would be a memento to mankind, offering a last look at our home planet from the profundities of room. Sagan's assurance paid off. On Valentine's Day in 1990, Adventure 1 turned its camera back towards the planetary framework. The outcome was a series of 60 pictures, one of which was notable, the light blue dab taken from a distance of 3.8 billion miles. It stayed the farthest image of our planet of all time recorded. Earth shows up as a minuscule pale blue spot, scarcely apparent in the midst of the tremendous, inestimable background. Voyager 1 shows a staggering story of investigation, perseverance, and solidness. Even after 40 years, the bold explorer proceeds to send important information from the farthest corners of our tremendous area. But what's genuinely exceptional is their dependence on attack tapes. Yes, you heard it right. These phenomenal tests still utilize 8TR tapes, a demonstration of the resourcefulness of the mission's designers. That these powerful tapes have persevered over the course of the many years is significant. You may inquire as to why 8-track tapes were picked at the hour of their farewell. Advanced capacity, as far as we might be aware today, was in its earliest stages. They required a solid information stockpiling framework, and 8-track tapes fit the requirements impeccably. What's more excellent is that the information put away on these tapes isn't your ordinary music or diversion content. It's logical information of enormous significance about the outer planets, moons, and interstellar space. These tapes hold the key to seeing probably the most significant secrets of the universe. Now, for what reason is Neil deGrasse Tyson so energetic about this new revelation? Also, what does it have to do with extraterrestrial life? Let's discuss. Neil deGrasse Tyson, the well-known astrophysicist, prolific author, and engaging host of Star Chat on National Geographic, is basically the one who makes stargazing cool. Neil deGrasse Tyson has a talent for making complex scientific ideas accessible to the overall population, which has earned him a huge following and significant regard. However, beyond his role as a science communicator, Tyson is also a respected scientist with an impressive body of research and scholarly work to his name. As the director of the Hayden Planetarium in New York City, Tyson is deeply involved in education and outreach efforts aimed at inspiring the up-and-coming generation of scientists and explorers. His passion for space exploration and his dedication to advancing understanding of the universe are apparent in all that he does.